popcorn. We are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn. Woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo. What's up, Little Biscuits and Shell Red Tomatoes? It's your boy Brandon Collins back with another mini review for our Medium Popcorn YouTube page. Don't forget to push that subscribe button so you get alerted about upcoming reviews and interviews and special things we have going on with the show. I'm going to briefly talk about Vengeance, which is a new dark comedy written, directed, and starring B.J Novak, who's infamous from The Office. He wrote some very cringy episodes, specifically Scott's Tots. So that's an idea of how uncomfortable he likes to make people sometimes with his writing. The premise of this movie is a journalist and podcaster travels from New York City to West Texas to investigate the death of a girl he was hooking up with. And what we find out is that the girlfriend, her family is under the impression that BJ's character Ben, they were like in a real relationship and like loved each other and stuff. It's produced by Blumhouse Productions, as well as distribution with Universal and through Focus Features. So here's the thing. There are parts of this movie that I really liked. It's a very interesting kind of murder mystery, but it's also trying to be like, woke in a way that feels incredibly forced. Like I don't really get people that complain about things being woke, because to me that just means, I'm being mindful of other people and what the stuff I say or do, how that can impact, others based on history and oppression and things. But this felt very preachy for a liberal. And I get it. Like he was trying to be like, hey, we got to hold the people down south accountable, but at the same time, we do love, going to rallies and stuff like that. It was kind of all over the place tonally. I didn't quite understand what BJ was trying to say about, family relations, the perceptions of what people are like down south. There's a lot of conversations about, you thought we were just dumb down here. I will say Boyd, what was his name? Boyd Holbrook, who's most commonly known from Narcos, but he was also the villain in Logan. I thought he did a really good job as the brother that kind of like spearheads this whole story. But there's times where I'm like for instance, B.J. Novak, he hasn't been hired to do this podcast. He just happens to know some, high level people. One of them being Issa Rae's character, Eloise, who produces podcasts. And essentially, there's a scene where he's in the middle of a highway because Ty, who's Boyd Holbrook's character, essentially is like, I think my sister was murdered, and we're gonna find a killer and avenge her death. And he's like, what are you going off with this by? He's like, just my gut. And so he sells the podcast to Eloise, he's going off this idea with absolutely no evidence, and that's the story. And then Issa Rae's immediately like, this sounds cool, do it. And I'm like, that's not how podcasting works, especially in 2022. I guess unless you have the privilege of knowing people high ranking. Also, Issa Rae in this movie was really random. I love seeing her on screen. She's an incredibly talented, beautiful woman. It just was really odd. It was kind of like BJ being like, here's my one black friend. But I think for the most part, I did enjoy this. It's a short movie. It's very quick. It's like a little over an hour and a half. And Ashton Kutcher's in it. Who else is in it? J. Smith Cameron, who recently got nominated for Emmy for Succession, rightfully deserved. There's a John Mayer cameo, like a few things. Oh, Terry Gross, you can recognize her voice all the time, and she pops up in the movie. So there's some cool things going on, and the story did have some really strong scenes, and then there were some scenes that felt very hokey and forced. And then there was random cuts of Dove Cameron, and again, she's an attractive young woman, but there were some long shots that I was like, I wonder if this is going to come into play later in the story, and then it didn't, and I'm like, oh, so B.J. Novak just liked looking at Dove Cameron? Okay. But I'm not going to lie and say that this movie is not worth your time. I think if You were bored one Sunday afternoon and it pops up on one of your streamers that you have available, I would recommend watching it. Ashton Kutcher has some interesting scenes, a lot of monologuing. At the beginning, when he first monologues, you're like, okay, there might be something here. And then by the third act, you're just like, why is everyone monologuing? Like, it felt like a very bad Lost episode at times, if y'all know what I mean. Because, all those characters, all they did was monologue. But I felt like, at times, a really rough version of that. But as you all know, medium popcorn, we rate movies on scales of popcorn, small, medium, large, except for the exceptional. Now, if a movie does not deserve a bag of popcorn, we put it to the dog shit pile, where we pile piles and piles of dog shit onto it. For Vengeance, starring and written and directed by B.J. Novak, very similar to Tommy Wiseau, and with a supporting cast of Boyd Holbrook, Dove Cameron, Issa Rae, Ashton Kutcher. I'm gonna give this a medium. Like I said, it's I'm really into murder mysteries, so like I'm always gonna get hooked with a good mystery premise, and this had a good one. Like you're kind of like, all right, so why does everyone think that he was dating this girl? What kind of story was she doing? Did she really die, or was she actually a junkie? Like the way that some people are letting slip. There's some interesting ebbs and flows, but it didn't. It started feeling like we were being redundant. We were just going in circles, right? So medium for the premise, and some of the performances definitely helped. Like I said, Boyd Holbrook, he was very very solid, kept me engaged, and plus size he's in most of the movies, so that helped. Ashton Kutcher did have some shining moments, and then it got kind of weird. But I think my biggest issue is probably that B.J. Novak led this cast. I think if they found another actor, it could have worked a little bit better, like Thomas Middleton from Silicon Valley. Although I'm not sure if he's canceled. I feel like something happened with him where he got canceled. But regardless, like I think another quirky white dude, if that's what BJ wanted to go with for the lead outside of himself, could have worked a little bit better, especially with some of the more emotional scenes. BJ has a very deadpan face, and despite writing some pretty animated characters and dialogue, still pretty deadpan, even when he's trying to emote energy, emotion and stuff. So, all right, that's a medium. Y'all can follow me at American Collins, AmericanCollins.com. Y'all can follow the show at Medium P Podcast on all social media platforms. Please consider signing up for Patreon at patreon.com/medium popcorn. You get hours and hours of bonus content as well as access to hidden videos on our YouTube page. So definitely consider that. We have $2, $5, $10, and $15 tiers. But if money's tight, just push that subscribe button on YouTube. Continue watching our videos. That helps because now we get ad revenue. Or you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That helps as well. So anything counts, and we appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.